It's that time again. Time to show off how proud we are to be anti-supremacy, to fight against the terrorist network that controls the world. Hey, I just got the live on the, or I just got the notification on the other phone. It's weird, again, like you would think I would be reading you Israeli, because I used to read Israeli news every day. But the point in doing that was to show you what was happening. Like to show you that there's a genocide coming and all that. Now that it's here and everything is the way it is, I hate reading it because it just feels like I'm bragging for them. Head of controversial Israel-backed Gaza aid group resigns. That's the BBC. Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to launch aid delivers despite losing chief. The Israeli connections to new Gaza aid plan promoted as independent. It's the New York Times. Foreign contractors are set to carry out a contentious new food aid system in Gaza, displacing experienced aid agencies like the United Nations. It was conceived and largely developed by Israelis as a way to undermine Hamas. So stupid, right? Because Hamas is keeping the food from the people. That's the narrative now. The reason that so many people in Gaza are starving is because Hamas is keeping them from eating. Throughout the war in Gaza, UN agencies and experienced aid groups have overseen the distribution of food in the territory. Now Israel is set to transfer that responsibility to a handful of newly formed private organizations with obscure histories and unknown financial backers. With what Israel did with the pagers, that story that just completely vanished, where like 1,200 people were either injured or killed because the pagers that they had exploded because Israel had somehow gotten a hold of these things in the production process and then programmed all of them to explode. Oh, go, what's happening? I'm doing that thing you hate so much. I'm reading. Supporters of the project describe it as an I mean, why would anybody think the people in charge of giving food to the people that Israel is committing genocide against should be Israeli? Who Who in their right mind thinks along those lines? I'm not even reading that shit. Israeli airstrike kills at least 7 of a doctor's children, Gaza officials say. Israeli strikes kill 52 in Gaza, including 36 in a school turned shelter, medics say. Israeli strikes kills dozens, sheltering in Gaza school, officials say. I mean, this is just insane. The funny thing is all I do is put Israel into the Google machine and then click news. So if there were all these good stories, they would come through. Why is it the only stories that exist about Israel make Israel sound like the piece of shits they are? Israel rejects latest proposed hostage ceasefire deal, senior officials say. Go figure. Hello. So Israel is the one that keeps rejecting the ceasefire deal. They, the deal is always Israel stops doing what they're doing and then the hostages will be given back. But Israel's the one that keeps rejecting it and then pretending like they're the victims. This is the Times of Israel writing this. Let's see what they have to say. Responding to report, Trump is said to announce new truce for around 70 days and release of 10 hostages. Israeli officials say Hamas terms are unacceptable. Responding to a Lebanese report that a new outline for a hostage and ceasefire proposal has been agreed upon in principle by Israel. Senior Israeli officials said Monday the deal has been rejected. The proposal received by Israel cannot be accepted by any reasonable government, the official told the media without giving any further details. Gee, that's weird. Don't you think if you had the dirt necessary to make something seem ridiculous. Nobody. Then you would explain why no reasonable government could accept it. Hamas is setting impossible conditions that made a complete failure to meet the war goals and an inability to release hostages. The war goals. I still want to know who this Hamas is, that who the representatives are that are meeting and putting out these details and all this other shit. The main organization representing families and hostages also rejected the reported deal, saying it would not include the return of all of the captives and a final end to the war. Oh my God, look at how this is being spun. A flurry of reports cited sources saying that a new ceasefire deal was in the offing, similar to previous arrangements under which fighting in the Gaza Strip would halt for a period of time during which Israeli hostages would be released and humanitarian aid to the enclave boosted. The Arabic language Sky News Arabia outlet cited unnamed sources as saying U.S. President douchebag Donald Trump was likely to announce such a deal within days.
Douchebag is really nice.
I don't know why we call people douchebags in the first place. If you support what I'm doing, then fucking share it, man. Take 2 seconds to like, share, and sub. Share it on Facebook. Get as many people as you can in here, especially the ones that'll tell me that I'm wrong about, or tell me what I'm wrong about. But I would love to hear from any Jays, any Israeli supporters, anybody who's dumb enough to acknowledge the fact they're a piece of shit, and let us pick their brain. The Lebanese outlet Al Mayadeen, which is affiliated with the Hezbollah terror group. I mean, look at this. Of course, this is the Times of Israel, so of course it's going to be worded like this. Reported that Israel had agreed in principle to a draft proposal that called for a ceasefire of about 70 days, during which 10 living hostages would be released in 2 phases, modifying the so-called Witkoff outline, which laid out a shorter ceasefire for the release of about 10 living hostages. Just outside Detroit. But the Israeli official described the proposal as one that does not indicate a real desire to bridge the gaps between the parties, and said it was very far from the one originally proposed by Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff. There is no genuine willingness on Hamas's part to move forward with the deal. Israel remains committed to the Witkoff framework. I mean, this is just ridiculous. This is the other reason why I don't read the news as much anymore, because it's just ridiculous nonsense. To think that Hamas has any power in any of this. The whole hostages narrative is just bullshit. How come there are 2 hostages, I forget their fucking names, I don't care about their names, but 2 hostages that have been they keep getting the cell phone with the video, like the video of hostages supposedly doing this. It's only 2 guys. 2 guys keep getting shown over and over again, yet we're supposed to believe it's hundreds of hostages. According to the Al Mayadeen report, based on an unnamed senior Palestinian source, the latest discussions mediated by Witkoff and Palestinian-American businessman Bishara Bahaba concluded early Monday morning. It did not say where those talks were held or who they involved. Why? If this is real, like, it's just so fucking insane. This whole thing is just so insane. Obviously, the Jays control our narrative, control our government, control our president, control our media. Obviously, all of this is just, it's obvious. How does anybody not see this? The fact that all of this is taking place and then nobody is coming out and saying, hey, you guys, we need to work together. We need transparency. We need to expose things. Like, how come nobody says this shit? The proposal includes a ceasefire lasting approximately a ceasefire. So Israel is going to stop dropping bombs on people just long enough to get some hostages back, and then they're going to resume bombing. That's what a ceasefire means, especially when you give it a time frame. Oh, it's just a ceasefire. We're gonna stop killing for a little while, which they never do. They just start killing, and or they'll do like, oh, well, the ceasefire is happening for this, but then there's Operation, kill the filth or something like that, something like awful. They always call it something awful, where they then go through and they'll do their nightly raids or whatever. Like this is just insane. This is what's happening right now is just insane, and I really feel awkward talking about anything else anymore. When you want to talk about Diddy or you want to talk about even Trump's bullshit or whatever, it's just stupid. It's fucking stupid. It's stupid to think that they're going to, that there's some truce with Yemen, and all they're doing is setting up for the next false flag with that bullshit. Israel will attack an American outpost, blame it on Yemen, and then Americans will start tying yellow ribbons around trees and shit. Stupid ass Americans. And I'm really actually I'm honestly tired of the free Palestine narrative when it's like it's fucking gone. They've destroyed most of it. But what about Lebanon? What about Syria? What about Yemen? What about all these other countries that Israel is either attacking or about to attack? Does that turn into free Palestine still? And then this whole idea of Israel. Israel is nothing. Israel is only this thing that we all agree is a thing. But the reality is Israel is just an idea. It's just a place. It's just some invisible lines drawn on a fucking map that we don't even know is accurate to begin with. But it's invisible lines that then they then fortify and, say if you cross this invisible line, then this or that happens. But Israel isn't a thing. Israel is just some bullshit. There are people named Israel. Israel Adesanya, that poor fucking guy. Can you imagine what it's like to be a black dude named Israel? I mean, I would hate myself. I'd hate my parents. I would do... But the problem isn't this place. That's how borders work. The problem isn't borders. The problem is the filth, is the cult inside those borders. It's the cult that is doing all of this shit. It's not the Israel, the place, that's doing it. It's the cult. It's not even Zionism. People love to get their kicks by, oh, I'm against Zionism. I'm against Zionism. Zionism is, again, just this thing we're allowed to say. You're allowed to say, I oppose Zionism. You're allowed to say free Palestine. The system has finally allowed us to say free Palestine. But they still consider it anti-Semitism. Most of you don't even know what Semitism means. Semitism is policy or predisposition. This is according to Webster, Merriam-Webster definition. Number one is like of Semitic character. Number 1B is Semitic features occurring in another language. So when you say, Chazah, that's like, Semitic is the people of the region. All of the people, Palestinians, Syrians, Lebanese, Iranians, Iraqis, these are all Semitic people. Even black people, the North African countries are considered Semitic. Semitic is anti-Semitic is a racist term. It's an awful thing to say to somebody. But Semitism, anti-Semitism, if you look up the definition is policy or predisposition favorable to Jays. Why would anyone other than them think they should have policy or predisposition favorable to them? Why would a non-Jay support policy or predisposition favorable to Jays? That is fucking ridiculous. And that is supremacy. Policy is the rules, regulations, how we do things. And predisposition is attitude. Your attitude towards this is always going to be favorable. So the attitude towards the Jays and the rules and regulations toward the Jays are favorable to them. Who would agree to that? How many of you agree with that? That they are so much better than us that they should have the policy and the predisposition favorable to them. This is the Semitism doesn't discriminate between or differentiate between, Jayism and Zionism. No, it's just Jays in general. And that's fucking insane. That's insane. I'm sorry your sister is homeless. Maybe you should have a better family. But see, this is where it always comes in, where you go, okay, so does anybody think that's an American? Are we saying that Americans think that, especially Christian Americans, you think that not your group, but a different group? I mean, I guess they've tricked you into thinking that their group, the people that kill your Jesus in the Bible, the real bad guys in the Bible, not Satan, the people that killed the Jesus, the God's, Christian God's only begotten Son, that those happen to be Christian God's chosen people as well. They've tricked you that, like, how does the average Christian just believe that? Like, they don't even think about it. You don't even question that shit. You don't even think, you know what? I want to be one of my God's chosen people. Like, I don't want to be just, if they're the chosen ones, what does that make you? I mean, does that dawn on you? If they're chosen by God, then you must be the slaves. Because that's how the religion exists. That's how their cult exists. Is it believes that all of us are just slaves. If you're not them, you're goyim, and everything goyim is to be used by them to whatever way they see fit. And whether you're dumb enough to fall for Christianity or Islam, like, just look at it from a regular, like, we all, they've told us that all three are the Abrahamic religions. The Abrahamic religions. Abraham is the father of the J people. He's the main bad guy in the Bible. And yet the other two religions, the other two cults that exist, they're like low-level cults. They're the shit cults. You don't have to be born into that cult to be in the rest of the cult. They gave it to you. Just go read the Bible. The Bible is all about Jays. 40,000 denominations, different people reading the same book. I watched someone read one of the prophecies and try to say that he was going through it, LOL. Yeah, it's all just dumb nonsense. If anybody can show me any prophecy, any sort of anything from the Bible that's true, I'd love to see it. If you're dumb enough to bring up Israel, understand that Israel wasn't supposed to exist yet. Israel's supposed to exist after Jesus comes back, at least according to their bullshit. But it's all stupid, especially when you start looking at, like, this guy is Harold Ruiz. When you start looking at, like, black people and Mexicans and shit like that, why are you guys fucking Christian? Does it not dawn on you that maybe, just maybe, your ancestors didn't believe that bullshit and were forced into it? Especially if you believe the historical narrative that we're given. Because we're given a historical narrative that doesn't include Tartaria, that doesn't include much old world stuff. And when it does, we're supposed to be these nothing peasants who clearly couldn't build the catacombs and clearly couldn't build the churches and the palaces and the castles and shit like that. We were peasants. And when asked how those things were built, our society goes, well, there's a little gap in the historical record regarding how things were built and what happened to all the dead bodies. But other than that, history is spot on, and if you question it, you're a damn conspiracy theorist bad guy. Like, share, sub. Like, share, sub. Don't forget to like, share, sub. If I'm wrong, how come there aren't people that come in and tell me what I'm wrong about? How come the only people that come in are funny profiles that talk shit? Don't you think with everything that religion is given, all the leeway, all the favoritism that religion is given, that religious people can consistently get caught violating children, violating the law, and nothing happens to the organization itself? Don't you think the foundation of that organization should have a list a mile long of like good things, realistic, truthful things that are associated with it that sort of validate its position as a powerhouse like that? Why is it doesn't work that way? Why is it that religion is one of these things where if you try talking about it, especially with people who are like, I'm very religious, they literally shut down every time. They get mad and they start attacking. And you know, that's the best they can do. I mean, it's how Western society has been built to handle things. Any sort of problem that exists, somebody attacks and then runs away. My neighbor swore up and down that the Palestinians attack the Israelis just as much as the Israelis attack the Palestinians. And I was like, that's not true. And he gets all mad and runs in his house and swears he's going to show us. A couple hours later, he comes out of his house with his phone showing my wife, see. It was an article about how some American POWs are being held by Ukraine. What the fuck? How does that have to do with what we were talking about? But see, that's just how the stupid narrative has been pushed on us and how it maintains its hold. Nate, get the door. Yeah, this is just a nightmare that we're living in. And the thing is, the world is so beautiful. And then the fucked up part is a lot of the distractions are fantastic. But it really is. Like, how does anybody exist right now completely oblivious to the fact that there are children being killed every single day by the lot? Like, lots. It's not like a child. And to say it even like, oh, it's not like just one child, like that would be more than enough. What's up? Huh? Sure. But when you look at what's happening, like, how do you just ignore it? How are you just, even if you're like, oh, I'm America first, blah blah blah, don't you understand how much of your money is being stolen and given to the Israelis every day, every year? At the very least, they're guaranteed $3.8 billion a year. And people seem to mix that up. People seem to think they go, well, that's aid. That's military aid. No. They get a check, a transfer of $3.8 billion. It used to be that they were required to spend that money on buying weapons from us. So it was this ruse that was set up to trick the Americans that we're not just giving Israel money, right? It's not what's happening. They're buying weapons from us. So it justifies the whole thing, even though we were giving them the money to buy weapons from us. Like it's just stupid that it even worked for as long as it did. How the fuck are Americans that stupid? Active duty naval nuclear operator here. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure we have an active duty naval nuclear operator here who just happens upon my video 25 minutes in. He's just scouring the internet looking for people who don't believe submarines are real. And he's going to desperately try to get us to talk about anything other than the genocide taking place, but especially the submarines part. Pretty interesting how that works, huh? You guys believe it? I don't believe it. But do you guys believe it? It's just fucking dumb. It's just more stupidity on top of more stupidity on top of more stupidity. And you have to ask yourself who's behind all of it. You know, there's a group you could all look up called Team Jorge. And Team Jorge is just one Israeli Black Ops organization that was exposed in 2022 as being a secret cybersecurity force, a Black Ops cybersecurity apparatus, right? And the guy who ran it, his name was Tal Hanan. He brags about having 30,000 fake social media bot profiles. He has a troll farm with 30,000 profiles at his disposal. He can do whatever he wants with them. And you'll see that Facebook will release stories about how they moved 1,000 bot profiles from China, 800 from Philippines, and they pat themselves on the back. This one Israeli Black Ops group brags about having 30,000 at their disposal, and nobody talks about it. Look at all the profiles that suddenly show up, desperately trying to get us to talk about something else. Why do you think that is? The most important... I know, I love that picture. The most important event, the most important historical narrative that is being like fully exposed and is happening right now is the genocide. There's a literal genocide happening right now. And whether or not I believe in submarines, that's back burner shit. Who gives a fuck? Do I affect things that much that it matters? No. But why would anybody literally hear what we're talking about and think that anything else is more important? Especially my own personal bullshit. Like, it's amazing. This is Team Jorge. This is what they do. This is how Israel operates. They have their system set up to find people that are speaking against Israel or pro-Palestine, whatever, and they attack. They just sick their bots on them and they attack. Their goal is to try to shoot the messenger, right? Because if you guys think I'm crazy, then it doesn't matter what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, like, if anything I'm saying is wrong, I'd love to hear it. And if you can tell me how, I could smoke all the drugs, drink all the alcohol, beat my wife, kick my children, kick my dog, do all these terrible things, and none of that would outweigh a genocide, right? So ask yourself, who thinks that way? What does genocide have to do with submarines? So can you imagine if this really was this, like, if this isn't the meat bag the dumb meatbag that Kissinger called military men right here that doesn't understand, like, dude, what does this have to do with that? Dude, like, again, who's going to be behind this? Who is going to willingly acknowledge that they're this stupid and that they're this distracted? Why would it bother anybody? You know, why would anybody give a shit about my personal beliefs on something so ridiculous? And yet, I challenge any of you to prove that submarines exist. Show me some footage of a submarine underwater, and I might pay attention. But until you can do that, until you've done more than I have as far as research goes, I'm just not interested. If you really want to talk about submarines, go watch the first 9 parts of this series that are truly about submarine not being real, and see how much you can debunk. The title of is always submarines. He barely talks about it, right? What am I? See, it's always funny because, like, I always get crybabies that come in and say, "You talk about the same things. You talk about the same things." Well, if I was on, like, Submarines Aren't Real part 200 something, and it was only about that, we only talk, wouldn't that be a really boring video? Especially considering nobody ever comes up with counter anything. They just kind of talk shit, but they don't actually make any reasonable arguments. And the vast majority don't know any. You've seen some movies, you've seen some television presentations. You know, you've been told to read shit in a book or something like that, so you just believe it. You've never looked into it. You know nothing about Cornelius Drebbel. And yet, it's that same narrative that is you know, wants to focus on something they don't know anything about and change the subject from the most important thing going on right now. Look at all of these random profiles that will comment about the submarines but say nothing about genocide. Whether they support it or supposedly don't. But they have nothing to say. Nothing, oh yeah, genocide's horrible. We need to stop these, you know, Israeli monsters. But nothing. It's the same people that have nothing to say about the pedophilia. You know, the Jays who run Hollywood and continuously rape children. Or the church that they belong to that continuously rapes children. Nothing to say. Why do you want to talk about other things so badly? That's the more important question. Why do you want to talk about everything but the genocide taking place? The loss of life. The thing that all of these other things that you keep bringing up are the distraction from. You're supposed to be talking about the earth shape and satellites and all this other dumb shit. At the end of the day, you can't prove any of it. You have to rely on what liars tell you. Or you I guess you believe Katy Perry and Gayle King. It's just fucking stupid. It's all fucking stupid. To question your reasoning. Again, what does it matter? You could use a telescope to see it. To see what? What are you talking about? I don't even care. Like, I don't even care. Again, I can't use a telescope to see the genocide. I can use my social media lens. I can use social media platforms to see the genocide. This is the most heavily broadcast and heavily denied genocide of all time. It's the most viewed in broadcast genocide of all time, while being the most denied genocide of all time. It is fucking insane. Anyone can talk on social media and sit at home on it. You can act righteous while you're sitting safe and sitting around home. Always see, look at this shit. Look at this shit. This is the type of dumb nonsense that I get. this arrogant righteousness to try to tell me what I can or can't do, blah blah blah. But see, you refute. You don't even deny it. You don't even abhor it. You don't even sit here and say, yeah, that's horrible. I can't stand the genocide taking place. This is awful. I hate that my American tax dollars are being stolen from me so these people can commit genocide. Nothing. I brought up the pedo stuff. You say nothing. Fuck pedos. Pedos need to die. Blah, blah, blah. Look at this crybaby. Look at this crybaby shit. Of course, you better leave because you're just going to end up looking stupid. You're going to look like a pedo supporting genocide supporting piece of shit. Which again, you have to ask yourself, who else is, who does that? What kind of horrible people do that? Is it the same people that have been associated with well poisoning and blood libel since we've been keeping track? Blood libel is where they murder Christian children, but murder children, drain their blood and use it for their rituals. I am half Palestinian. Please shut up and enlist. Yeah, I'm going to go enlist. Yeah, what do you think? What military you think is going to take me at 46? This is what this is what dumbass people say again. So instead of trying to educate people and build a larger voice, unify people and make the movement stronger, I should put on my red bandana, get a knife and get some grenades and a big machine gun and then just get dropped off from an airplane with a parachute into Palestine so I can go take out Netanyahu. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes all the sense. Oh, beyond labeling and disregard with no regard. Whatever, dude. It's just such weird shit. Such weird shit. I'm half Palestinian. Sure you are. Why would anyone believe anything these fake profiles come on here and say? Once they prove that they're willing to say whatever dumb shit possible and lose whatever credibility they could have, why would you believe anything they say? Once you understand that the majority of this is Team Jorge kind of bullshit, it doesn't, it's just more and more stupidity. It's more and more Jay bullshit. But learn, ask yourself why anybody, just some red-blooded Americans, be upset with me for talking about this. I was just telling her about that the other day. Why would anybody do that? This is it's just so obvious. It's all so obvious what's happening. And what happens to someone like me who openly says, look, it's not at all about Palestine. Like, the Palestinian aspect is just a piece. It's not free Palestine. We have to end this cult. The cult is the problem. The cult is behind the genocide. The cult is behind the pedophilia. The cult is behind your perspective on everything, on life itself. The cult tells you how to think. The cult gives you your viewpoints on love, your viewpoints on historical everything. You don't know shit. You literally have no fucking idea. You just know what you're told in every aspect. And the thing is, we're all so funny about it. We all call the community, call the system the liar that it is until it starts, going with the things that we want. Then we're like, oh, the system must be telling us the truth. Get the ball! FBI watching you and they determine you're the least of their words. My God, thinks he's a hero. I'm letting people like smoking blunt. Again, look at the desperate nonsense. Look at the desperate shit. Somebody is sitting here telling me how unimportant I am while they sit here and me have to tell me. Like, the irony in this and the stupidity is just overwhelming. How can people literally be that stupid? If I didn't matter, then you wouldn't say anything. You just wouldn't watch. You just move on. And then if you think the system gives us these platforms for free without monitoring it, I mean, how stupid can you be? You guys, watch. Let's show you something because I know you guys love learning as much as I do, right? So we're gonna go Team Jorge, okay? Just listen because I don't know what I'm talking about. Team Jorge is the name given to an outfit of Israeli contractors specialized in the use of malign cyber activities, including hacking, sabotage, and bot farm social media disinformation campaigns to manipulate the outcomes of elections. They're so powerful, they can manipulate election level shit. So, thinking that they can't manipulate, interfere, involve themselves with some tiny little bullshit page on YouTube that actually should be a lot bigger, but for some reason isn't, has all these weird things that go down, One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. Now, there's the source. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be like, that source isn't good enough when you're saying stuff I don't like. Otherwise, it's fine. The group was exposed in February 2023 after an award-winning undercover operation by journalists from Israel and France as part of a consortium of investigative journalists coordinated by Forbidden Stories. The organization has been active since at least 2015 and boasts of having manipulated 33 presidential elections worldwide, with many of them in Africa, and 27 cases with successful results. Conspiracy theorists, honest questions show the source of what's your URL. Jesus, shut the fuck up. This is the desperation. So instead of addressing the information given, just more crybaby shit. Their activities were revealed following a 2022 sting operation in Tel Aviv carried out by 3 undercover journalists who posed as prospective clients and filmed their interactions with Tal Hanan, the group's leader and former Israeli Special Forces operative, in which he explained the inner workings of the organization. Tal Hanan used the pseudonym Jorge when working with the hacking and disinformation group, which inspired the name Team Jorge. According to Tal Hanan, the group's leader, Team Jorge has existed for more than 2 decades and has been engaged in propaganda and disinformation activities in more than 30 countries. However, its first documented activity dates back to 2015. You know, just before your buddy Trump won. Just before your buddy Trump lost, but was put in office anyway. Lost by 2.7 million votes. And then the swamp he was going to drain, full of Jays, put him in office anyway. While Hillary Clinton could have gone down as the first female president of all time and just was like, okay, well, I guess the Electoral College says I lost for the 3rd time in modern history. The first 2 being George Bush Jr.'s wins. Suddenly, the people can't pick who they want to be their leader. The Electoral College has to step in. And Hillary was like, all right, cool, I'll see you later. That makes sense, right? The service has been available to government intelligence agencies, political campaigns, and private companies that wish to covertly manipulate public opinion. One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. Can't find anything about that. The software automates centralized control of thousands of fake social media profiles on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Telegram, TikTok, and others, YouTube included. A number of these profiles have blah blah. The group also employs hacking techniques to brute force accounts of potential victims. Brute forcing accounts is when they they have the computer just run thousands and thousands of attempts at your profile with every password possible until they finally crack it. Interesting how that works, right? Investigation and exposure. Team Jorge's were revealed after a sting operation by some journalists. The team to test Team Jorge's abilities. The journalist tasked it with a disinformation campaign called RIP Emmanuel, spreading a death hoax about a social media personality, Emmanuel the Emu. The hashtag was used in over 1,300 tweets, and a tweet from Emmanuel's owner saying he was not dead received millions of views. In the conversations, Hainan boasted of having interfered with 33 presidential election campaigns, 27 of which had positive results for the faction that hired him. Amazing that 33 pops up. He claimed responsibility for a 2019 cyber attack against the Central Elections Committee of Indonesia, made to look like it had come from China for political reasons. Media outlets, including Bloomberg, reported on the attack in March 2019, noting the probable Chinese-Russian origin of the interference, while an investigation by The Guardian noted that it was more likely the work of other hackers leaving a false trail. What? He also claimed that Team Jorge interfered in the 2014 Catalan independence referendum, hacked the emails of Chief of Staff of Trinidad and Tobago, and leaked a document to cause a political crisis, passed false information to an ABC journalist to influence the 2012 Venezuelan presidential election against former President Hugo Chavez, ran a 2022 campaign claiming the Polisario Front had ties to Hezbollah and Iran, and another 2022 campaign defaming Ali bin Fatias al-Mari, the UN envoy for combating corruption. Wider investigation by all these different journalists was given the 2023 Excellence in Collaboration and Partnership Prize by the online news agency. Hainan attended meetings involving Cambridge Analytica as early as 2014. Emails linked to The Guardian show that Team Jorge was then in contact with Cambridge Analytica in 2015 and 17 over political campaigns in Africa and South America. None here in the U.S., though. Don't worry about it, right? Don't worry about it. The two organizations worked. It's always the one that smoke out of bowls that know everything that's happening. Although just a minute ago it was because I was smoking a blunt, but now it's because of the bowls. Gotta love how stupid these people are. The two organizations worked to manipulate the 2015 Nigerian election. The plan was to help Goodluck Jonathan re-elected by discrediting Muhammadu Buhari, but the campaign was unsuccessful. Good thing they're telling us about one of the 5 unsuccessful ones. During the undercover meeting with journalists, Hainan showcased his ability to hack into the Telegram account of Dennis Ntumbe, a digital strategist for William Ruto, during the 2022 Kenyan general election. Ntumbe subsequently confirmed to the Star that his Telegram account had been infiltrated and that he noticed increased activity in the run-up to the elections. This is Team Jorge. Look, I just make it all up, right? I make it all up. Somehow I make it up, and then I go through, and I get Wikipedia to say what I want it to say. Tal Hainan, Hebrew, born in 1973. We don't know. The other day we were looking up Stalin, and we were looking up John D. We ended up going down a rabbit hole and ended up on this guy named John D. from the 1500s. We knew when he was born. We knew who his parents were, who his grandparents were, all of these intricate details. We didn't know exactly when he died for some reason. But we knew all this, where he went to school. We knew about a job offer he received and turned down. We knew all kinds of shit about him. Tal Hanen, born in 1973. 1973, you got it. Also known by his codename Jorge, is an Israeli businessman and former special forces operator who has been involved in disinformation campaigns in order to manipulate elections in several countries. Hanen's organization, Team Jorge, has, for instance, attempted to influence the 2015 general election in collaboration with Cambridge Analytica. You know, the one that it didn't work. The group operated software called AIMS for creating fake online accounts on social media networks and using them to spread fake news. Tal Hanen's operation was the subject of an undercover investigation conducted by the journalists from this place, that, blah, blah. It was then jointly reported in The Guardian, Le Monde, Haaretz, The Spiegel, and others in February 2023. Hanen has denied any wrongdoing. Interesting how it works. Interesting how it works. You know, you guys, I'm making all this up, right? Sock puppet account, fake social media account, is a false online identity used for deceptive purposes. The term originally referred to a hand puppet made from a sock. Sock puppets include online identities created to praise, defend, or support a person or organization, to manipulate public opinion, or to circumvent restrictions such as viewing a social media account that a user is blocked from. Sock puppets are unwelcomed in many online communities and forums. The practice of writing synonymous self-reviews began before the internet. Writers Walt Whitman and Anthony Burgess wrote synonymous reviews on their own books, as well as Benjamin Franklin. Wikipedia has a long history of problems with sock puppetry, and on October 21st, 2013, the Wikimedia Foundation, WMF, condemned paid advocacy sock puppeting on Wikipedia, and 2 days later, on October 23rd, specifically banned wiki PR editing of Wikipedia. In August and September 2015, the WMF uncovered another group of sock puppets known as Orange Moody. Now, let's see if we can find this. Naftali Bennett. Israel controls Wikipedia. Let's see if I can find that video. Oh, here you go. Oh. I can't do it because it's on Instagram. Well, here, let's try it. Here it is on YouTube. What?
How to edit in Wikipedia with My Israel.
All right, here you go. This guy was the prime minister before he stepped.
In conjunction with
Okay.
My Israel.
Wait. This guy was the prime minister of Israel. He was the fourth of the 5 prime ministers of Israel in just under 3 years. He was prime minister for like 6 months, 8 months in 2023, 2022, no, in 2021, 2022, until he stepped down and Yair Lapid took over for the last half of 2022 until they put Netanyahu back in charge. This is Naftali Bennett.
Moetzet Yesh, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
I came here to learn.
Do you hear that? They're teaching people how to edit Wikipedia because they want to be there. Because if anybody searches Gaza, they want to control how you think. It's right there. You have the one of the most powerful men in recent Israeli history, prior to being powerful like that, is talking about how they control Wikipedia. You know, the one thing you're going to find on my page that you won't find on a lot of pages is this evidence. I'm challenging you. Tell me what I'm wrong about. Notice how he said, so that it's Zionist in nature. Because if he were to say that we want it to be J controlled, we want it to be J, then it would be an issue. But Zionism is the thing that we're allowed to condemn. But man, if you look up Zionism, it's unreal. The history of it, the foundation of it, the beliefs behind it, it's all like the conspiracy that you're talking about is this. You know, you start talking about like politics in Zimbabwe. I have no idea. You want to talk about, you know, quantum mathematics and shit like that. I have no idea. You want to talk about the best recipes for how to make cakes and shit. I have no idea. When it comes to this particular thing, yeah, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I've been doing this for a long time, since prior to October 7th, 2023, but even before that, before it was okay for us to say these things. I'm proud of my anti-Semitism because I know what Semitism means. Semitism is supremacy. And if you don't oppose supremacy in any form, then there's something wrong with you. And the thing is, you know, you come across these occasional, well, these are the good Jays. At the end of the day, those Jays believe you're a goyim. If you're a good person, then you don't need to belong to a cult, a separatist cult, a supremacist cult. Here we go again. More and more people desperate to try to get us to change the subject. Why do you think that is? Why do you think so many people don't want us talking about this? Right? Why do you think so many people don't want us to know what the words mean? You guys don't believe me, do you? Let's see. So here, we'll do it just like this. So pull up to Google. We'll put Semitism, definition, okay? We'll go to Merriam-Webster, definition of Semitism.
Semitism.
See, we're on the Semitism page.
Semitism.
Number 1A, Semitic character or qualities. Number 1B, a characteristic feature of a Semitic language occurring in another language. Number 2, policy or predisposition favorable to Jays. You see it? You see it? It's telling you. It's telling you that shit. Right? If you're at the point in your life where you're questioning things like you don't believe in space travel and all that bullshit, all the NASA bullshit that they give you, you're starting to question, you know, you started to sort of stumble into Tartaria and you're starting to look at like the architecture and infrastructure and all these buildings and castles and churches and construction achievements that just don't make sense for the time, and you're starting to question those kinds of things, understand that this is all a narrative that's been given to you. And it's the same people that have told you to ignore all of these other things and ignore your intuition and ignore that are trying to get you to stop talking about the genocide. Stop talking about unification, that we need to be unified, right? This just describes their culture, language, and laws. To be anti-Semitic is to simply oppose those values and laws. No, it's not. Anti-Semitic is... Semitic refers to all of the people of the region. Whether they're Palestinian, whether they're Iranian, Iraqi, it doesn't matter who they are. If they're even Egyptians, the black people, North Africans are considered Semitic people. If you're going off of what the words mean, then you have to look up what they, you have to take it from that literal perspective. Whenever you see Israelis calling Palestinians anti-Semitic, especially when they're the Israelis that are the immigrants, they're not even from that region. They came from America or from Poland or some other bullshit, right? And they're trying to call the people from there anti-Semitic. It's just, it's like, it would be funny if it wasn't attached to genocide, right? But it's the fact that we're talking about a genocide that's taking place right now. Yeah. You guys don't think the cult, there's something wrong with the cult. Look up Metitza Bepa. I don't know if I'm saying it right. But it's Metitsia B or P hyphen B E H, or is it B hyphen P? I don't know. But it's their ritual of cutting and sucking on baby penis. It's their version of circumcision, except they cut and they suck on it. If you think that shit's fucking okay, there's something wrong with you. Are you referencing the pyramids? Are these the monumental structures aligned with the time period, not trying to antagonize this? No, I mean, the pyramids are just one example of it. And which pyramids are you talking about? I'm assuming you're talking about the Egyptian pyramids. These are just more and more examples of things that when asked, well, how'd they build that? The system goes, oh, I don't know. Well, some slaves did it. But it's so much closer to you than you realize. Whether you live in the United States or in Europe or whatever, just go downtown. I mean, you don't even have to go downtown. You'll find on your way downtown, you'll find a bunch of buildings that are supposedly, over 100 years old that just don't make any sense. But especially when you go to the downtowns and you see things like, the Empire State Building, and that was supposedly built in a year. When you see all these old school buildings and you just go, well, how did they do it? Go look at all the old churches and shit. How did they fucking build these things? La Familia, the Grata, whatever the fuck that shit's called. Go look in India. Go look. We're sort of kept from it, but the technology that was used to create India is just, it's obviously lost. I mean, it's obviously something we used to have and we just don't have it anymore. But like I say, if you're at this point where you're questioning these kinds of things, then the natural progression is for you to question who is lying to you. Why are they lying to you? And for me, unfortunately, I realize that Tartaria is probably one of the best distractions they've given us in a long time. Because it doesn't necessarily involve some sort of negative bullshit like the whole pedophilia, Hollywood, the trafficking ring and stuff. These are conversations that people might not want to have with their grandparents. Or, it's hard to sort of get to that point for a lot of people in a conversation. Me, I'm right away with it. But Tartaria is something that you can talk about with anybody. And when you go to look up just about anything, you'll find one of those bullshit stories. There was a fire, it was completely destroyed and then rebuilt in a year, maybe two. I mean, it's just bullshit. It's just bullshit, and it's that same narrative across the board. And when you look it up, you'll feel that instant gratification that you're, yeah, you know what, I'm breaking through, I'm seeing this, obviously this is true. And it's a great distraction in that regard because you're always going to find validation. It's not something that's hard to talk about. It's just sort of exists. But when it comes to the genocide, well, that's a lot harder. And look at how many people are here trying to get me to not talk about genocide. How come there's all these profiles, these fake profiles here, talking about everything but the genocide that I'm talking about? Talking about anything other than the pedophilia that I'm talking about, or the Jay slavery that I'm talking about, how the Jays have us all as slaves. Why don't they engage that shit? Right? Why don't you guys ever engage that shit? My belief in submarines is more important than bombs, American-made, American tax dollar paid for bombs that were made by Americans and dropped from American-made planes and all that other shit on children that are in tents because their houses have already been destroyed. My belief in submarines outweighs that. Doesn't that seem weird? Doesn't it seem weird that people are so, willingly distracted and put so much importance on my beliefs? If I'm don't matter and I'm wrong and I'm just some dumbass, then why does my belief matter to somebody so much? This narrative is just going to get worse. Why isn't everybody talking about how Trump is attacking the First Amendment? Like this is crazy. All these dumbass Trumpanzees out there, America First Trumpanzees, who I'm not racist, I'm just American, proud American, blah 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 bullshit. Why aren't they, especially them, all the white bread Americans who supported this racist piece of shit because of, never really gave you too many reasons. Oh, it's because of the borders. Aren't the gas and the food prices. Haven't the gas and food prices gone way down, sweetheart? Haven't you been enjoying that?
Gosh, at least two, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wait, no, they've all gone up. Everything's gotten more expensive. It's what happens when you add a bunch of tariffs and shit. You piss off a bunch of people. And Trump did an interview not too long ago saying he doesn't think he can he knows he can't bring those prices down. He ran on the promise that he was going to. But this is,
Said a lot.
he said a lot of shit, right? He could end the wars with just one phone call. But these are the things the average Trumpanzee would say. They would come on my feed prior to the election and swear that the gas prices and the food prices were Biden's fault because him and Kamala sat in the Oval Office deciding how much mangoes should cost. And that the borders, the open borders, it's basically open borders. There were never any open borders. It wasn't even close to that. The only open border is the one along the north, but that's where white people cross, so nobody cares. But those two things were the number one, were like the number one or number two things. You could interchange them. They would either talk about the gas and food prices, and then the borders, or the borders, and then the gas and food prices. Both of which have just been complete shit. And then the third thing was there were wars when Trump was president. Trump's going to end the wars around the world. These were all fucking idiots were saying. And of course you'll get stupid people that'll come in and say MAGA 2020, 2028, because they can't answer for anything. They don't know anything. They're literally NPCs programmed to say one or two phrases. The fact is, Trump hasn't been able to do very much but overload Israel with money, weapons, whatever they want. And that started back in 2016 in the first election with the Abraham Accords. Which again, how come all these America people aren't complaining about that? In order to get all these countries to sign into the Abraham Accords, which basically did nothing for us. The Abraham Accords were about getting all these other countries to agree not to oppose Israel, not to attack Israel, and to allow the Israelis travel to all these different places without, without having to worry about visas and shit like that. The Israelis wanted to see, World Cup in Qatar, and, they weren't welcome, so they had to fix that. So they got all these governments to sign these Abraham Accords by promising them, we pay for it. The Saudi Arabia one, that they couldn't get through, so Biden took up the mantle and tried. He tried to bribe Saudi Arabia with a civilian nuclear program that Trump is now talking about pushing through regardless of whether Israel signs or not. The idea that the president of the United States is trying to work out deals between Israel and Saudi Arabia, the two most guilty countries in the world of war crimes, it's like, how does that even make sense? Why does that make sense? Why do we give Israel anything? $3.8 billion a year? Do you know that $3.8 billion turns into 15 billion shekels by the time it gets to them? Look, Trump, the TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, right. The Trump derangement system is something that anybody that calls out any of his shit has. They can't answer for it. They won't answer for why he lost the election in 2016 by 2.7 million votes, and then the swamp put him in anyway. They won't answer that. They don't like talking about Epstein and how Trump was best buddies with Epstein for years and years and years until he was told not to hang out with him in public as much, but still did. They definitely don't like talking about COVID and how Trump locked us down with COVID. It's amazing how stupid the average Trumpanzee is. And maybe they'll realize that this winter when they pull out Sears, SEERS, the new COVID that's going to hit this winter, this fall, this winter. But hey, don't talk about those things. They don't like those things. They like pretend like Biden locked us down. I've literally had multiple Trump supporters tell me Biden was the one that locked us down. Or they'll blame Fauci, like Trump didn't give us Fauci. Like if the president of the United States didn't want people to get locked down. Oh, no, he made it a local thing. He gave the states the ability to decide that. What's funny is, shortly after the now dead Virginia Giuffre decided to drop her lawsuit and take the money, she said she wasn't going to, but suddenly out of the blue she did. It was either the next day or the day after that all of a sudden, all of the different states, the governors of all the different states just woke up that morning and was like, hey, you know what? Why don't we drop the mask restrictions? That sounds good. All of them, same day, same, no reason. They just all decided to. But you want to believe that it's not one government. There's a story out of Texas where this small little town did some sort of audit and figured out that they were giving Israel $4 million a year out of tax dollars. And when they said, hey, we don't want to do this anymore, they were told they had to. They have laws on the books that say you're not allowed to protest against Israel. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. Again, Trump is destroying the First Amendment to protect Israel. It's just wild. It's so, you want to talk about some derangement syndrome. that all these dumbass Trumpanzees aren't up in arms because Trump is destroying your First Amendment right. It's mind-blowing. And of course, they're not going to address, they can't address any of this shit. They don't know any of this shit. They hear little bits and pieces and they just, I mean, why would anyone support Israel? Why would anyone, any American with other than a J, support Israel? You support the idea of taking American tax dollars, stealing them, and giving them in billions and billions. And the base number is 3.8 billion. And it's a memorandum of understanding signed every 10 years. For some strange reason, the one that's in effect now was signed by Obama, but didn't take effect until 2018. And Trump didn't override that. Trump didn't redo that. Well, actually they did. The one that Obama signed had two what they called concessions. Netanyahu had to agree to two concessions in order to get $3.8 billion given to him. The first one was that they weren't allowed to use that money to develop their own weapons and had to buy weapons from us with the money that we give them. And the second one was that they weren't allowed to ask for any more money until this ran its course. Of course, by 2018, when it was fully signed in, those stipulations were removed, and instead, there's now a cache of weapons that is kept in Israel for emergency purposes if the United States ever needs them, but the Israelis can access them anytime they need. So now, we're just giving them money. There's not even the fake dumbass stipulation that they have to use that money to buy weapons from us. Now we just give them money. Looks like the comments got shut off. Sorry. I had nothing to do with it. But notice how the comments are, you know nothing. Really. If I know nothing and I'm wrong, why don't you just prove it? Why don't you guys just tell me what I'm wrong about? Tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me why we should give Israel $3.8 billion a year. That shit's going to go up. You're making it so Obama's not allowed to run. Trump's allowed to run for the third term. But he's going to sign it in 2028, and I would be willing to bet that Israel is $100 billion for the next 10 years. It's called the Memorandum of Understanding, Public Perception. They're legal, and they're legally binding, but because they're not considered treaties or grant or stuff like that, they're considered memorandums of understanding so that there's no paper trail if they don't want it to be. Or at least we don't have access to it. And I only know two memorandums of understanding. The first one being, the amount of money Israel gets every year, and the second one being that Israel is to have the mightiest military in the region by a quantifiable military advantage, or a qualitative military advantage, I think it's called. And it's a memorandum of understanding that says Israel has the quantitative or qualitative military advantage, meaning they have a substantially better military than anyone else in the region. And anytime that is offset by anything, the United States is required to fill in the gap, to balance things back out, so to speak. And one of the most fucked up examples of it is in signing the Abraham Accords, we had to make all kinds of deals where we would give, I don't know the exact number, but let's just say we gave Bahrain 20 F-35 fighter jets, right? So they would play nice with Israel. Well, because of the memorandum of understanding with the qualitative military advantage, if we give Bahrain 20 F-35 fighter jets, we then have to give Israel 35 F-35 fighter jets to offset the fact that Bahrain just got some to play nice with Israel. It's the most fucked up system you'll ever see. At least it's the most obvious conspiracy theory, Jay's control, the blah, blah, blah system you've ever seen. These are things that you don't vote on. These are things that you don't even know about. Most of you don't even know about this. I only know about it because of who I am, because of my crazy obsession with making the world a better place. Because I absolutely fucking hate what's happening. And I just, this notion of genocide, simply because God's chosen people decide they want to kill people, because they have a murder boner like you wouldn't believe. I fucking hate it. My Instagram feed, my Facebook feed, it's full of videos showing exactly what's going on. There's no videos coming out of Israel showing any sort of damage or any sort of victimization of Israelis or Jays in any way. But there are just thousands and thousands of videos showing either bombs being dropped on civilians, or I shared this one video the other day. 2 women were in Israel, and one was an Asian woman and one was just a white chick. I think she was Irish or Scottish maybe. But they had their phones out and they were filming, and they were surrounded by a group of Jays, most of which were children. You know, there were a few adults, but most of them were like teenagers or even younger. Some looked like they were like 6, 7 years old, surrounding these women, throwing stuff at them, telling, get out, go, you need to go. Just like they did to Morgan Spurlock. Go look it up. Morgan Spurlock's follow-up film to Super Size Me, the thing that made him a household name, was a movie called Where in the World is Osama bin Laden? And he went all over the Middle East looking for Osama bin Laden, looking to sort of put light on the conflicts and what's going on there and how people fought. And he was welcomed everywhere he went. People would we love America, we love you, America, yay. And consistently, place after place, they would say, it's not that we don't like the American people or hate your freedom, like George Bush loved to say. They hate our freedom. It was the fact that we were connected with Israel that bothered everyone so much. And it wasn't until the end of the movie, when he went to Israel, and for the first time in the whole documentary, he was attacked. He got out, started walking around this Hasidic town, started asking people, hey, can I talk to you? Can I ask you some questions? And within like 5 minutes, a mob had surrounded him, and these unpreviously seen guys with machine guns, who apparently were providing security for him throughout, they finally show up on screen because he's getting attacked. And they just have to get the fuck out of there. The only group that attacked him were the Jays. They are just horrible, horrible people, and they hate you. They fucking hate you. All of you Christians out there, they believe Jesus is boiling it's either Jesus or Mary that's boiling in a cauldron of fucking semen in hell for all of eternity. You guys, it's fucking insane. It's insane what we're forced to endure. You know, the Jays make up 2% of the American population, 0.183% of the world's population. Yet here in the States, Hanukkah comes around every year and it's celebrated. And that none of you know what the fuck Hanukkah celebrates. I guarantee that. Because if you did, you'd be appalled. Hanukkah celebrates the Maccabees, the Maccabee Revolution, where circumcision had been outlawed. They claim other things like they were forced to eat non-kosher meat and they were forced to worship on Saturday or on Sunday instead of Saturday. Which I don't know how you even enforce that kind of bullshit, but those are the two sort of fake things. The main reason was the circumcision aspect of it. And this guy called Maccabee finally had enough. And he decided that he was going to circumcise. So he went around the country magically. And he happened to know where all the different Jays lived throughout the country. And he would go to their place and he would give them the option. Either circumcise yourself and your children now, or we kill you. And once they circumcised, then they joined the Maccabee revolt. And went around the country with freshly circumcised penises while they walked around and went on horses. I don't fucking know. It's fucking stupid. And eventually they get enough members that they could attack the Seleucid Empire, where they, after years of war, eventually won the right to be able to circumcise again. And that is what you're celebrating with Hanukkah. It's fucking insane. Especially when you know that for them, circumcision, Brit Milah, involves Metitza Bipa, which is the sucking, oral suction. Let's see, can we find it? Is there a wiki page for it? I doubt it, but let's see. METITSIAB-PEH. Well, that says Brit Milah. The Wikipedia page just immediately goes to Brit Milah, but let's read the AI overview. Metitza. Oh, okay. So I spelled it wrong. I guess this METZITZAH-B-PEH. Metitza Bipa refers to a specific practice during J circumcision, bris, where the moil ritual circumciser, who is it's his only job, this is all he does. He doesn't perform any other rituals. His sole job is to perform this. Uses their mouth to suck blood from the baby's circumcision wound. While some religious authorities consider this practice essential, it raises concerns about the risk of herpes transmission and other pathogens. Yeah, that's the part that's the worst, right? The slim chance of catching something, that's the part. It's not the whole putting a baby's bloody penis in your mouth. If I gave you the option, I said, hey, I got a job for you. You're going to make $10 million a year. You get to travel all over the world. You'll be super famous and all this other shit. The caveat is that you have to perform one of these operations per year. Just one. You just have to do one circumcision and then suck on it. It's just a baby. How many of you would take that job? I couldn't. That's insane. Here's a more detailed explanation. The moil uses their mouth to remove blood and debris from the circumcision wound. Part of the ritual. And when they say by some, by a lot more than you think it is. Metitza Bipa poses the risk of herpes transmission because the moil may be unknowingly carrying the herpes simplex virus type 1 HSV1. Babies are particularly vulnerable to serious complications from the herpes infection, including death, apparently. The New York City Department of Health has warned about the dangers of Metitza by highlighting the potential for serious illness, brain damage, and death in infants. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention also consider the procedure to be unsafe. So why isn't it outlawed? It's unsafe, unnecessary. Nobody should be getting circumcised. Especially when you're doing it for biblical reasons, which are basically that the I got sorry. This is horrible. Why isn't this banned? You do it for religious practices because we got to go back to Abraham once again, father of the J people, father of all religions, was having a conversation with God through his God phone, where he was told by God that God would never destroy the earth again as long as the chosen people perform this ritual. You know, God doesn't care about how we treat each other. God doesn't care about how we treat the animals, how we treat the earth, or anything like that. As long as we continue to cut they continue to cut and suck baby penises, then God won't destroy the earth again with the flood. And he proves that by showing us rainbows. Rainbows. That's how you know God will never destroy the earth again, because of the rainbows. And Abraham was told this by God, and he was like, okay. So then he also chose to circumcise his slaves. All of his slaves were circumcised as well. He did it. He circumcised himself and circumcised all his slaves. So when they do it in their Brit Milah bris ritual, they do it actually 8 days after the baby's born, because they believe the woman's vagina is so toxic that the baby needs 7 days to purify from the birthing process, even if it's a C-section. With us, they do it to us within hours of being born. And if you've ever seen the difference between an 8-day-old baby and a brand new baby, it's night and day. The brand new baby is fucking brand new, frail as can be, you know, waterlogged to say the least. After 8 days, they've experienced love, they've experienced security, happiness, family, safety. You know, they've experienced more things than just being born and being like, hey, what's going on here? Right? And yet with us, it's within a couple of hours. They take your baby from you. They put it in the incubator. They then strap it down like it's being crucified, arms up, feet together. They put a little bell on it, on its penis, and they spin it around, and this little blade comes out and cuts the skin. And it's not just skin, it's glands, it's necessity, it's real shit. But they do that, they perform it, the baby screams, ah! And immediately goes into shock. And while the baby's in shock, they take it back to the incubator and let it come out of shock before they take it to the parent. So this baby has just had this incredible trauma done to it, and then it's supposed to just figure out what happened on its own. No love, no support, no nothing, until it finally passes out from the shock. And you wonder why America has the highest prison systems, has such a rape culture, a penis-obsessed rape culture. Why do you think that is? You don't think there's some damage left over from us experiencing that crazy bullshit so God doesn't destroy the earth again? Do you not get how fucking insane that is? But what we're doing is, well, we're not doing it. We usually allow them to do it. Marking our children as slaves, as J slaves. That's what us circumcising is. We're being marked as slaves of the J. For them, after 8 days, they have their little party, their bris, where Brit Milah, the Moil performs the Brit Milah, which is the circumcision, and then in many, many households, he sucks on it. Now, the bris is a big party where friends and relatives all come and stand around and watch as this thing is being done, as the Moil is mutilating and molesting the child right in front of them. The difference again is right after it's done, they pass the baby around from person to person who then shows them an outpouring of love. A bris is supposed to be an overly joyous occasion to counteract the trauma, at least in theory. But again, that baby has already experienced other things. The first thing they experience isn't excruciating pain like it is for us. It's it's appalling. It's appalling. In Europe, the medical community outright says that the risks greatly outweigh, or the risk greatly outweigh the benefits. It's not worth the fucking risk. They don't do it. If it was a medical necessity, then it'd be done all over the world without question. If you're wondering about the comments are blocked from my end, so I'm not seeing shit. Wouldn't matter because nobody be, debunking what I'm saying or defending. Like I've asked for months and years now. Just give me some good stuff about them. Tell me something good about them. Justify the accommodation of what is, to me, the most disgusting cult in the world. If they can do that to their own children, what do you think they can do to the rest of us? They can stand around and watch as some basically strange man puts his mouth on their baby's penis after he cuts it. Do you realize how fucking insane that is? Are we just out of our minds here? Why do we accommodate this? It's straight up insanity. You better get your butt over here. It's terrible, man. What? No. Gee, I wonder. So what? Bella better not have chips in my house. Get out of my house with your chips. No. Because there's everybody's here. We're not going to be rude like that. That's rude to eat in front of people like that. So it's been deemed unsafe by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, yet it's still allowed to exist. While some ultra-Orthodox Jays continue to practice Matitza Bippa, other traditional Jay communities and medical professionals have voiced concerns and advocated for alternative methods to clean the circumcision wound. Sure. Okay, so again, I don't my sources. Don't show the URL. This is nyc.gov. Matitza Bippa, direct oral suction. When a baby is circumcised, some ritual J circumcisers, moim, do a practice called Matitza Bippa. Matitza Bippa is when the moil uses their mouth to suck blood away from the baby's circumcision wound as part of the circumcision ritual. After Matitza Bippa, some babies can get an infection. How can it cause infection? I don't need to know how it causes infection. Before the bris, before you hire a moil, ask if they do Matitza Bippa. If you don't want Matitza Bippa, tell the moil not to do it, because they're going to do it. They're going to assume you want it. They are required to respect your wishes. If you do decide to include Matitza Bippa during your baby's bris, take the following steps. Talk with your baby's doctor about Matitza Bippa. Before you hire a moil for a bris, ask if they have tested positive for herpes, or if they have received an order from the Commission commissioner of health to not perform the Matitza Bepa because, they'll lie to you. If the Moyle answers yes to either of those questions, you should not hire that Moyle. Talk to the Moyle to make sure they rinse their mouth with mouthwash, Listerine Original Gold with 26.9% alcohol, for at least 30 seconds immediately before performing. So I bet that feels good for the baby, huh? I mean, what else do you guys need to know? Huh? Bella better not be eating chips down there. Brit Milah. Brit Milah. Covenant of circumcision, or bris, is a ceremony of circumcision in Judaism and Samaritanism, during which the foreskin is surgically removed. According to the book of Genesis, God commanded the biblical patriarch Abraham to be circumcised, an act to be followed by his descendants on the 8th day of life, symbolizing the covenant between God and the J people. Oh, that's weird. Today is generally performed by a moil on the 8th day after the infant's birth and is followed by a celebratory meal known as the Sidat Mitzvah. Brit Milah is considered among the most important and central commandments in Jayism. It's one of the most important things that they cut and suck on the baby's penis.
No.
The Talmud The Talmud, when discussing the importance of Brit Milah, considers it equal to all other mitzvot, or commandments. It's equal to everything else. Abraham's descendants who voluntarily failed to undergo Brit Milah, barring extraordinary circumstances, are believed to suffer kareth. In J theology, the extinction of the soul and denial of a share of the world to come. Brit is understood by Jays to signify acceptance into the covenant between God and the J people. Do you guys understand this is cult shit? Which is why Jerem need to go through Brit even if they are not from Abraham's descendants. What are Jerem? Jerem, singular, also known as Geri Tzek, are non-Jays who have converted to Jayism and have become naturalized Jays according to the J law. A Jer acquires a J soul upon the completion of the conversion known as Gur or Girat in the process of conversion to Jayism. It is important to note that there is a distinction between a Jer Tzek and a Jer Toshav, who is a resident alien and is bound only to the 7 laws of Noah. Interesting, don't you think? Non-Jays have been joining J people for thousands of years. You know what's great about them? Their history, it doesn't exist in all of the supposed ancient texts. There's no J history. Why? Because theirs was oral. Their tradition was oral up until very recently when they finally decided to start writing stuff down. It's not that it's not that it's some bullshit that's newly made up, just like Hebrew, the first person to be born and speaking Hebrew in modern times was Eliezer ben Yehuda's son in the 1900s. Hebrew is roughly 100 plus years old. It was lost, and then it was revived in the late 1800s by Eliezer ben Yehuda. It's the newest language on the planet. Yet you believe that there's all these old Hebrew texts and all this other it's all bullshit. One of the earliest instances being Ruth, a Moabite ancestor of King David. In the book of Ruth, she declared her loyalty to the J people to Naomi, her mother-in-law by saying, "Entreat me not to leave thee, and to return from following after thee, for whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest, I will die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me." Some slavery bullshit there, huh? During the Roman era, it is estimated that up to 10%, 2 to 7 million, 6 million of the Roman population was J, particularly due to an increase in J conversion. Several Jerem and descendants of Jerem, such as Simon Bar Goira, Giora, Elbaton, who gives a fuck, were prominent in the ancient J community. It is estimated that a significant portion of the genome of diaspora J groups is of non-Israelite genetic descent. Duh, that's because they're not Semitic people. When they claim something is anti-Semitic, you're talking about European people and Polish people, German people. They are not Semitic people. Israelite genetic descent, including these communities, accepted in many converts following the expulsion of Jays from Israel by the Romans. It's just bullshit. Nobody ever talks about why they were expelled. Usually it has to do with the circumcision and shit like that. But they don't want you knowing that. They just make it sound like people were just jealous of us. People were just jealous. It's fucking crazy. The converts were fully assimilated into the J people, adopting all aspects of J culture and identity. Though extremely uncommon, entire people groups had converted to Jism throughout history, notably the Sabanatnik Jays, Benemesha Jays of San Nicandro, and the Himriti Kingdom. Many of these groups have gone on to intermarry with the predominantly Israelite descended J community. Alleged forced conversion of the Edomites. The only recorded case of alleged forced conversion to Jism was John Hyrcanus' forced conversion of the Edomites during the Maccabean revolt against the Seleucid Empire. However, some scholars believe this conversion to be voluntary. Right, they volunteered to cut their penises. It's fucking nuts. I just, this is crazy. All right, where were we? Brit is understood. Abraham's and historical conflicts between Jays and European civilizations have occurred many times over Brit Milah, including multiple campaigns of Jay ethnic, cultural, and religious persecution, with subsequent bans and restrictions on the practice as attempted means of forceful assimilation, coercion, and ethnocide, most famously in the Maccabean revolt by the Seleucid Empire, which again, they were basically allowed to do whatever they want. They were allowed to practice their shit. They just weren't allowed to cut and suck on baby penises anymore. And when you look at the Maccabean revolt, the only thing that they did was circumcise and then force other people to circumcise. If not, they would be killed. Force other Jays to circumcise. The Jays were killing Jays if they didn't circumcise. I didn't do anything. I didn't. I just have weird hand tremors sometimes. You sent it though, didn't you?
No, I can't find it.
You didn't send it to Alex? Doesn't make any sense. It can be found. Take it to them and ask them, say, hey, I lost this. Can you help me? I know it's still on my phone somewhere. Can you help me find it?
Got deleted.
It still can be found. Listen, this is all part of the cult that is committing genocide right now. If you want to end the pedophilia in Hollywood and the human trafficking elements of society, it starts with this. If you want to know the true shape of the earth, it starts with this. If you want to have access to Tartaria and the true history of the world, you have to want to end the genocide. It all starts with ending this genocide and removing us unifying and overthrowing the Jays in charge who give us the narrative that we know of today, who give us our historical bullshit, who give us the laws, who don't represent us, and who are, again, committing genocide on top of all the rest of the shit. They give us little pieces of all these different narratives to distract us. So we're busy focused on like if you're real big into the human trafficking movement, which all of us should be, what's going to happen is eventually you're going to start noticing that it's just J after J after J after J after J. And when you try to then acknowledge that, or if you do, because most of us know that we're just not supposed to talk about them as is, it's all right there. It's all right there for you to see it. You don't even have to look hard. But if you try to see it, you try to talk about it, you like self-policing, go, well, I can't say that. They're the only group that I know, even if you say who they are, it can be framed as you're saying a slur. Saying they're J isn't some sort of, it's not a derogatory term. It's an identifier. But, they are weak and they are simple-minded. And they know they can't argue against any points that you make, so they try to argue around, or they argue these kind of dumbass narratives and tell you you're not allowed to talk about it and just all this crazy shit. If they were the good guys, if they were telling the truth, they would encourage us to look into them and ask questions and propose and present our crazy conspiracy theories so that they could dismantle them. They could show how we're just wrong. You're wrong about this. You're wrong about that. Let me explain it to you. They would do what I do. I go live and I welcome you to debunk anything I'm saying. Of course, I can't control if they shut the comments off. Which I challenge you. How many of you have ever seen that before? How many of you have been on a live feed where the person presenting it has decent numbers and yet the comment section is just somehow shut off? I didn't shut it off. There's plenty of comments, but it seemingly shut off like a half hour, 45 minutes ago. How's that work? How many of you have seen that before? Or how many of you experienced it before? Why do you think they do it? I believe, because I'm crazy, that they do it for a twofold reason. One, so I think that nobody gives a shit about what I'm saying, even though they know by now I'm on to them, so it doesn't bother me. More, if anything, it validates what I'm saying. But for you, especially if you're new here, and you start asking me questions, and you start trying to talk to me, and I don't respond to you, I look like a big dick. It's one thing if you're just talking your shit, you're one of these random trolls who just needs to talk shit for some reason. But if you're somebody who's actually interested and you start asking me shit and I don't give you the time of day, I just keep arrogantly talking without addressing these questions coming my way, you're much more likely to turn your back on me. You're much more likely to be like, fuck this guy. He can't even answer simple questions. He's ignoring us altogether. That's why they do it. They know that nobody's going to come in and actually put me in my place. Nobody, you can't argue against the things I'm saying. Nobody is going to argue that I should be okay with Matitza Bipla. Nobody can argue for the positives or the necessity for the genocide that's taking place. Nobody can argue against Hollywoodism, which is easily the greatest piece of media any of you should see. If any of you are wondering what's something you should go look to learn some of this stuff, I always suggest you start with Hollywoodism. You just have to watch it slowly. Like, you're going to have to rewind some bits and you're going to have to pay attention. But I'm going to leave a link to it in the description after the fact, because it seems like if I mess with the description before the fact, it fucks up the video. But I'm going to leave you a link to something called Hollywoodism. You could easily look it up yourself on YouTube. Hollywoodism. It's the greatest evidence I can present to you. Because I can tell you, if I remade Hollywoodism word for word, and I used, again, word for word, except for when they say us and we, I say them and they, it would be called like this is the most anti-Semitic trope. This is anti-Semitism. It would get panned. It would be it would just get destroyed by critics and whatnot. How dare you push such anti-Semitic tropes that Jays control Hollywood and therefore use Hollywood to then control the American population and create a society that they want and manipulate at their behest. Anything they want, they manipulate society using the media that they control. If I made that movie, you guys would, you would never see it. You would never hear about it. Other than to get shit talked about it. But the best part is, they made it. It's not made by some crazy conspiracy theorist like me. They made it in 1998 or 1996, can't remember which one. They made this documentary to basically brag about everything. Brag about how they just sort of made Hollywood, boom, 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 just made Hollywood, and then controlled it with an iron fist. Nepotism in every aspect, from the writers to the owners to the actors to the, well, not the actors as much, but the grips, the people behind the scenes, the editors, the anything. They absolutely controlled it. And if you think they just gave up that control at some point, you're fucking stupid. But it's the descendants and it's the historians that make this movie about how every conspiracy is absolutely 100% true. At one point, one of the broads in the movie says, the American dream is essentially the J dream. What we think of as the American dream, they gave us through Hollywood. It's amazing.
Well, they did flat out say it was the Jewish dream.
Right. That's what I just said.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't just insinuate. They literally said those words.
Flat out said it. The American dream is the J dream. And they start with their bullshit pogrom history of how they were the most persecuted people living in these giant isolated villages with these huge homes and these huge buildings, and it's just silly bullshit when it starts. But all of the founders of Hollywood all lived within 500 miles of each other in Europe.
It's like a princess saying, I wanted a white horse and they gave me a black one instead.
Sure. I don't know what part, but
it's not like they weren't persecuted.
Oh, no, not at all.
They had these wonderful...
Right. I get what you're saying now. Yeah. Oh, that's all they do is cry. They create these narratives like the Holocaust to make it sound like they're the most persecuted people in the world. As long as you don't ask why, you just give them the Semitism they feel they deserve. You know, whenever they say something is anti-Semitism, they're telling you the truth. The problem is they've controlled what you believe that word means. You believe that word is akin to being racist, when we're not talking about a race. We're talking about I have somebody now texting me just so they can tell me stupid shit. Like, that's what I'm saying. Instead of telling me what I'm wrong about, they're going to text me, pay attention to me shit. That's how desperate they are. You guys, you guys don't believe it. Maybe, I don't know. The text just came through. It is what it is. But this is what it is. This is what they fear more than anything. Imagine this, people. You, anybody watching me, somebody goes live and they're talking about things like pedophilia. They're talking about things like genocide. Are you then going to talk shit to them to begin with? But let's just say you can't talk shit. Are you going to then try to text them and text them over? Like, would any of you ever do anything like this? Doesn't this just seem like such crazy Team Jorge kind of bullshit to you? I just don't know what else you would call it. I could never imagine doing that. I'm going to start texting somebody from a YouTube video. Some random YouTube. I could watch anything else I wanted in the world, but this random guy who's saying the right things, I'm going to text him and tell him, "We don't like you. You're a jerkhead." Does that make sense? You guys ever hear about this kind of shit? But you're going to experience a level of circumcision, of censorship almost. You're going to experience a level of censorship on my page that you've never seen before. And you have to ask yourself why. What is it that I say differently than most people do? And I think a big part of it is this notion that free Palestine and Zionism and all, these are just terms they give us that we're allowed to say. I'm the only person I know saying it's the cult. The cult is the problem. I don't care if you think you know a couple of people that are nice to your face, or a couple of people that might say the right thing when a camera's in front of them. But it's the cult. The cult is what's wrong here. The cult behind Israel. The cult behind all of the Hollywood and all this other bullshit. It's a cult. They do ritual crazy shit where the most important ritual that's as important as anything else and more important than most is the cutting of a baby's penis. What the fuck are we even talking about here? We should not be talking about this. This should not be a thing that exists in our modern fucking, unified, intelligent society. And yet the people that we're supposed to be like, oh, well, I guess they just cut and suck on things. Yeah, I guess that they're also committing genocide. If they can do that to their own children, doesn't it seem like genocide to us nothings, us cows? When you look at cows, right? When you look at livestock, the vast majority of the people, you might want to go down there. The vast majority of the people out there don't give two shits about the livestock. When it comes to cows, we eat them. We use their bones for products, hair products. Who knows what the fuck we use their bones for? We make gummy bears out of boiling their bones and shit. We wear their skin. We make leather jackets. We make leather couches, leather seats. We manipulate cows to the fullest. We destroy them and use them like they're not even life forms, right? Well, imagine if there's a group that considers all of us, compared to them, cows. Does that not put things in a new light when you look at what's going on? When you look at the idea of starving an entire population where children are dying left and right from starvation, or the tent that they're living in gets hit with a fucking bomb, or they get shot in the head. There's a lot of reports of doctors talking about treating babies that have been shot in the head. Get out of there. Get. Sorry, lady. Your little spot's gone. Think about that. Who, if they can do that to their own children, does shooting a baby in the head that's not them seem that fucking far-fetched? No. No, this is just what they do. This is how they operate. They are unbelievable. And anybody that supports that, like, a lot of it is, again, distraction, where you'll have these ones that are like, oh, we don't support the genocide of the Palestinians. Yeah, but you still call me a goyim, don't you? You still believe that your cult should exist. You can't be a good person and believe in that cult. You might do good things, but at the end of the day, you're involved in some really horrible, horrible things. A mikvah? Look up what a mikvah is. A mikvah is a special bath that's built even before the temple's built. So every month after the women menstruate, they can go in this special bath so they can be cleansed, because otherwise they're basically toxic. And so the women will go to the facility and be checked by an attendant. And if there's blood, then they have to wait 7 days and come back. But if there's no blood, then they get into this specially made stagnant ass nasty water. And they get cleansed by going in the water. We're talking about just straight up fucking insanity. And it just goes, well poisoning. If you look up well poisoning of drinking water systems and poisoning wells, it's literally only associated with them. They're the only group throughout history, sans a couple of little, things that it doesn't necessarily say it's not them. It just doesn't directly say it's them, where they poison drinking water systems. There's something called Operation Cast Thy Bread, which is how Israel was first established. They poisoned the drinking water system of a few different places, one being a town called Acre, which after they poisoned it is where the Nakba first started, is where Israel first started their takeover of the Palestinian area, like physical. They had already done it through legislation and shit prior to. But they poisoned the drinking water system, and it's only associated with them. There's another thing called blood libel, where they supposedly kidnap Christian children or Goyim children, drain their blood, and then use their blood in their rituals, bake it into their matzah and use it in their rituals. And this is a practice that's only associated with them. And it goes back 1,000+ years. Different accounts of it. Multiple accounts in all these different places of this exact same thing happening. They don't get associated with, all these different things like what's done to black people, right? You get something like Black Lives Matter, which was only made famous because the powers that be saw how upset it made white people saying those 3 words. All lives matter. What are you talking about? What do you mean only Black Lives Matter? Nobody said only Black Lives Matter. They just said Black Lives Matter. It's a statement. Because in this country we live in, it doesn't seem like it, especially back then when unarmed black men were being shot by police left and right. That's what Black Lives Matter was specifically purposed to be. And yet when they saw how mad it made white people, they just started levying everything. Well, what about black on black crime? And what about the education system? And what about, the murder? And what about the crime rates? And what about all these other things black people do? Black people, black people, black people. And it was just some regular people that happened to come up with this fucking phrase. And when they made a few $1,000,000, everyone was like, okay, so what are you going to give all your money to? How dare these people spend this money on themselves that they made? They should be giving it to the community. If Black Lives Matter so much, why aren't they giving the money to the community? This should never get said to white people. You never see some white person make some money and people go, okay, so how much of it are you going to give away to the community? Doesn't work that way. Always works that way with black people. There's an old interview with Old Dirty Bastard where the interviewer says, you know, you've made a lot of money. What are you planning on giving back to the community? And he looks at her and he goes, nothing. Because he made that money. Why would he give the money back to the community just because he came out of some shit? Like, it's just fucking, he's not the problem. The system is the problem. But that's what they do. When something is powerful, they just levy everything, all these different examples from all these different spectrums. Black on black crime, single mothers, education, you know, the weight issues and the soul food diets. And like they just, everything they can gets thrown at it to try to dilute it, try to make it not have the effect it has. Yet when it comes to blood libel, that's it. Blood libel. They get associated with blood libel, with killing, draining, and then using that shit for ritual, using blood for ritual. To this day, we still get it with like shit like frazzle drips and your Hollywood parties where they talk about fucking ritual sacrifice and shit. Still exists. If you haven't looked in frazzle drip, it's pretty fucking well documented. Just like Pizzagate, really well documented. Just like the Franklin cover-up, really well documented. And yet, you're told to believe none of it's true, right? You're told to believe that if you ask questions about the narrative that you're given, meaning you're inquisitive, that there's something wrong with that. You should not be. You should just believe what the liars, the consistent, persistent liars have told you time and time again, and it's been shown to be lies. You should believe them when they tell you another new narrative. And then when you have someone like me who literally, like, you can't point to the conspiracy theory website that I've been to. You can't point to the source that I'm using that's inappropriate. How dare you use that source? I only use what they want us to know. I only quote from you shit from like either the official website or the Wikipedia page. You know, Wikipedia being the encyclopedia of today. Like if your kid does a report for school and they quote Wikipedia, the teacher's not going to be like, that's a conspiracy theory, Wikipedia. No. Wikipedia will have the references at the bottom. It's usually just a collection of information. So you don't have to go through and you actually miss out a lot on going, like you should go to the actual page. But it gives you a good synopsis of what they want you to know. I'm not saying everything on Wikipedia is true. I'm saying that's the information they want us to know. And I showed you earlier, Naftali Bennett bragged about how when Wikipedia first came around, Israel immediately sent all of its people over to Wikipedia to control how it was presented, so that they had the upper hand. Why do you suppose that is? I'd love for anybody to tell me what I'm wrong about when it comes to any of this shit. Any of this shit. You tell me how the genocide is the right thing to be happening right now, and why we shouldn't care that so much of our roads don't get fixed, our infrastructure doesn't get fixed, our government doesn't get fixed. But hey, we keep giving money to Israel, and Donald Trump is doing everything he can to eliminate our First Amendment rights, the right to protest, well, freedom of speech, number one, the right to protest and assemble, the right to redress our government, our grievances with our government, the freedom of religion, the assembly, you know, every aspect of the First Amendment, the five elements of the First Amendment are being destroyed right now. And it has nothing to do with even something in the United States. It has to do with Israel, a foreign country. It's amazing. And I can't, what are you doing? What the hell is going on here? There's all sorts of conspiracy theory shit I could talk about. I could talk about the Earth shape all day and the moon landing bullshit, and I could talk about germ theory. I think that's a really fucking crazy thing that to this day it's still called germ theory, because all you believe in little invaders, microscopic, trying to get you. I could talk about the vacations, the vacation pokes all day long. But none of that shit matters. In comparison, there's a fucking genocide taking place right now where children are being killed every single day. Tens to hundreds of children are killed every single day. And or die from starvation, which is them being killed because it's a forced starvation. Israel is committing this, doing what it takes to starve these people. Let's see if this will either remove the comments altogether or it'll reset them. Let's see what happens. Removed them altogether. Now I can't see any of the comments. Hell no. Guys, it's time. It's time for Team Goyim to realize our true calling. They don't look at us as black, white, gay, straight, man, woman, whatever. We're just Goyim to them. So why aren't we Goyim to us? Unified Goyim. It doesn't matter what kind of differences we have. We have a common enemy. And it's the enemy that has tricked you into believing that they are your chosen people. Your Christian God's chosen people, the ones that killed his kid, his only kid, they're his chosen people. Do you understand how, utterly stupid that is? I mean, seriously. Christians have told me my whole life, dude, read the Bible, read the Bible. Every time I read the Bible, parts of it, whatever, it pushes me further from it. But the more I seem to learn, the more the Bible is all J stories. All the characters are J. I always compare it to the Princess Bride, in that we, the audience, is watching as a movie that the grandfather is telling to his sick grandson, and then it's like a multiple fourth wall sort of breaks, But we are watching a story that's being told to somebody else. We're getting a story, like a synopsis of the story, so to speak. But it's an old J man telling some younger J's the story. That's what we're witnessing when we read the Bible. All of the characters are J. Everything that goes on in that book is J. They even mention well, this part's for the Gentiles, or what are we going to do with the Gentiles? The 12 spots for the 12 tribes who each have 12,000 members, and it's all J bullshit. And I just don't understand how so many people can call themselves truthers or be questioning everything but still believe in the Jesus narrative. The bullshit that they gave us. They gave us to keep us, to keep us in control. Instead of us unifying and working together to overthrow things and fix the problems. No, 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 no. We need a savior. We need a supernatural savior, because the bad guys, oh, they worship the devil. They worship Moloch. They're the Illuminati. There's the deep state. It's not the government you can see. No, no, no. It's the deep state. It's the deep state. It's not the Jays, it's the Zionists. They love having you believing in invisible bad guys, invisible death, doom, and gloom. And you realize, like, everything that you believe in is death, doom, and gloom. And it has to do with some sort of invisible source. If you believe in God and Jesus, the very best thing that can happen, your best case scenario, is that one day Jesus just floats out of the sky, and as soon as his little tootsie toes touch the ground, all of the 28 good Christians get raptured while the rest of everyone else has to fight it out in Armageddon. Even if all Christians got evaporated, got raptured, that's only 1 billion to 1.5 billion people. That still leaves at least 6 billion people to fucking die in Armageddon. That's the Christian's best case scenario. Do you believe in pole shifts? Well, the pole shift is when the North Pole and the South Pole switch places. And everybody dies. Death, doom, and gloom. You believe in super volcanoes? Well, and the thing is, we're long overdue for a pole shift. Super volcanoes like under Yellowstone, they blow up and everyone dies. And guess what? We're long overdue for a super volcano. Ice age happens. Everyone dies. We're long overdue for another ice age. A rock falls out of the sky and wipes everything out. Everyone dies. We're long overdue for a rock falling out of the sky. Invisible germs attack and make everyone sick and kill us all. And we're long overdue for a pandemic like that. Well, we're still in the midst of, I don't know. Everything they teach you is death, doom, and gloom. And whatever you end up believing in, it's all the same. Death, doom, and gloom. Keep you fucking, mentally thinking you're on the brink of destruction no matter what you believe in, and probably multiple different things, because amazingly, Christians believe in a round earth. They want to believe their Bible in every way except the convenient ones. Or the inconvenient ones, I'm sorry. Bible clearly says it's a fucking indestructible dome, 4 corners, blah, blah, blah. It's so silly, man. It's all so silly. It's all about killing, having us hate each other, killing each other, fighting each other. You like to mess with men behind closed doors? Well, I'm going to hate you and discriminate against you because you take 2 dudes out of the competition pool. Like, what? Like, you should be all about gay dudes because that's less people to compete with. Yet, insecure white dudes, insecure people in general. Because we have to fight. They have it now where women like Ronda Rousey and shit talking about she could beat up Floyd Mayweather. She never could. Never, ever, ever. Even if it was a fucking an MMA match, Ronda would get destroyed. Oh, we have to pretend like the WNBA is not a fucking absolute joke just so we end up hating each other for it. It's all just controlled bullshit to keep us hating each other instead of looking at who we should really hate. And that's the people that keep us from living this great life that we should all live. We have the means, technology, and resources for everyone to live a really great life, and no one has to work. People that want to can, but no one has to. And we don't, because then we would figure it all out. we would realize who our slave masters are and overthrow them. It's the last thing they want, and it's the one thing that needs to happen. And you can hear any day you want to, and you're going to see me talking about the same shit until we go and unite and overthrow the Jays that control our fucking narrative. Now, go get your free download. www.the-bilderberg, BILDERBERG-group.com. It's free. All we ask is that you share it with someone. It'll ask you how much you want to pay. Put 0 in the payment box, and it's free. You can donate all the money you want, and it's all greatly appreciated. And we do appreciate all those people that have donated. But you don't have to. All we ask is that you share it with someone. Help us. You know, it'll tell you that this is an unsecured website. It's fine. Your website is fine, or our website's fine. You're not going to find anything wrong with our website. You can see lots of our music videos. You can see lots of, you can hear all of the songs. It's all free. I'm going to put that at the top of the description. Then I'm going to put you a link to Hollywoodism, the most important thing you can watch. We already talked about it, but I highly suggest you go watch Hollywoodism, and I don't tell you to go watch anything else. Just go watch Hollywoodism. That explains the rest. Then go watch 200 Proofs. Then go watch, Loose Change or whatever else that exists, because Hollywoodism will give you that perspective. A Rich Man's Trick, another good one, but go watch Hollywoodism. Go do yourself a favor too. Look up the Samson option, Israel's plan for nuclear destruction. Should they ever feel that they're being invaded or destroyed, they'll launch their nukes in every direction and kill us all. Go look up Operation Cast Thy Bread, where they poison the drinking water systems. Go look up Team Jorge. Those will be tags. All those tags will be in the description. The last thing you'll find in the description is links to our Facebook page, where you can find 2 of our newest videos, COVID Sauce and Donald Trump Hates America. Go share those. We have to help. You guys, we have to do something to stop this fucking genocide, to stop the slavery, to stop the human trafficking, the pedophilia. Do you understand that Israel has all these rules and regulations that allow for the pedophiles to escape there? It's full of pedophiles. They get in trouble here, they run to Israel, and they live a good life because they don't have to work. They get a part of that $3.8 billion a year. They can work if they want to, but they don't have to. They all get their checks. We don't get checks. They have free health care, free everything. Do you guys get from your own money? No, your money pays for them to have it. Go get your free download. Go watch Hollywoodism and go check out the Facebook page. I appreciate y'all being here. At the end of the day, the most important thing I always say on my videos, it's more important than anything else I'm talking about. Pedophiles, kill yourself.